I was 8 years old. I just went to the rice field, and then I just digging for bamboo shoots, and then hit with the UXO and then export it.
หลังจากกลับเมืองหันแล้วก็ย่านจะไปขุดส่วนสุดดินนะก็เลยก็ไปดึกลิ้น3 คนไปตาย1อย่างช้อง
A clearance team scans a field for UXO, or unexploded ordnance, and unearths several items. They're mostly small cluster munitions or bombies, but also a couple of mortars. This is not a remote area in Laos. It's on the edge of a village where cattle graze and children play, and people grow rice and vegetables, or wood if they didn't fear it could cost them their limbs, livelihoods, and even their lives. This man lost his leg in 2014 after hitting a bombi while planting crops. He's being fitted with a prosthetic limb at a rehabilitation center in the Laos capital, taking steps to rebuild his life.
เสียขาแล้วก็บ่ได้เฮ็ดเวียกเฮ็ดงานช่วยครอบครัวเพราะว่าไปเฮ็ดเวียกบ่ได้เพราะมันมีความยุ่งยากค่ากระตัดความจำเป็นแล้วก็มาการใช้จ่ายอยู่ห้องหมอก็คือว่าแล้วมีขาดๆเกินๆเนาะบ่พอมีเพียงบ่พอมีความยุ่งยากครอบครัวก็บ่มีเงินมีคำเนี่ยเป็นครอบครัวทุกอย่าง
His injury is a legacy of a secret and relentless American bombing campaign that aimed to stop Vietnamese communist guerrillas from moving supplies and troops through Laos during the Vietnam War. Laos has the tragic distinction of being the most heavily bombed country in history based on its population size. US forces made more than 500,000 bombing runs and dropped more than 2 million tons of munitions on the country between 1964 and 1973. It's the anti-personnel cluster munitions that have caused the most lingering harm. US bombing scattered 270 million of them randomly across fields and forests and villages. Some 30% never exploded. This man is still suffering 9 years after his fateful encounter with a bombi.
เมื่อที่เกิดระเบิดมันถึกเนี่ยเนาะเพราะว่าเอาไปเห็นลูกบุญนะอายุประมาณ12 ปีเพราะว่าผู้จ้างอย่างไรกำลังคิดอยู่กับแม่เราเอาไปเล่นบ่ฮู้ว่ามันสิแตกใส่เจ้าของว่าเป็นคนแบบใดนะฮู้ชื่อว่ามันคือลูกบุญนะเนาะเลยก็ไปดึกลิ้น3 คนไปตาย1อย่างช้องโอเค
Previous prosthetics caused him pain and left him with an infection. He's set to have an operation and then he hopes get a better fitting prosthetic. For UXO survivors, the psychological wounds can be as damaging as the physical ones. This impoverished farmer's family thought they had struck it lucky in 2014 when they found a metallic object in a field. They tried to sell it to Vietnamese scrap metal dealers who came to the village.
เวียดมาซื้อแล้วเวียดว่ามีขี้เมียงแล้วเขาแล้วเคาะขี้เมียงกันออกแล้วเราจะเป็นผู้ไปขายเฮ้อผู้น้อยเขาก็นั่งอยู่กลางบ้านหั่นว่าจีอันขายเหล็กเฮ้อเวียดหั่นแล้วเวียดแล้วเคาะขี้เมียงออกแล้วมันละเตะซื้อแล้วถือ3แม่ลูกชาย2 คนกับอันแม่ผู้นึงเวียดนั้นถือผู้หนึ่งตายพร้อมเลยเวียดนั้นผู้หนึ่งอันบ่ถือเวียดมา2 คนเฮาราคากุดกระบาดเลยเบื้องหนึ่งละหักบ้านหนึ่งละตาบอดบ้านหนึ่งละเฮาจะเลาะอ่างนี่
It also blew their house to bits.
แต่กี้มันเฮาเจ็บมาเมื่อเฮาบ่ลงฮอดเฮือนหมู่คู่มาห้องเห็นหมู่คู่ไปก็เลยก็ให้ว่าบ่อยากไปก็เลย
But she and her son are now on the path to recovery, thanks to a group founded by a man who quit school in despair at age 8 after losing his hand to UXO.
One time I met with the one person. He also he have the same situation like me. He lost hand, but he still got a job and he still work with the government, and that is very good inspiration for me. And then that's why I would like to come back to school.
After a fellow UXO survivor killed himself because he couldn't get the help he needed, Tumi founded the Quality of Life Association. The organization provides educational funding and livelihood training and teaches handicraft making skills to families of UXO victims.
แล้วเพิ่นไปเอ็ดให้เอ็ดนาได้เอ็ดให้ตอนนั้นเพิ่นอยู่บ้านนอกเพิ่นบ่มีนาแล้วเพิ่นเอ็ดให้แล้วถือแล้วจุกเก็ดไม้ให้มันเป็นกองแล้วจุกแล้วถือมาแล้วเตะถือมาหลังจากตอนนั้นแล้วเพิ่นถือแล้วอย่าเจ็บแล้วเพิ่นแล้วว่าไปเอ็ดให้เอ็ดนาบ่ได้เนาะ
All of the UXO survivors, they have traumatic experience, and then they have kind of, psychosocial, issues like this. And of course, and this is part of the difficulty, try to help them. And if they have someone who have the same situation, come to talk, that would be, better.
Helping survivors is only one side of the challenge UXO poses. The other is to survey and clear the land to prevent more tragedies.
UXO is in everywhere in this country. We have altogether 18 provinces. Obviously, UXO in 17 provinces contaminated. Lots of the agriculture land contaminated by UXO. People, it's a fear to use the land.
Land battles as Laos fought for independence from France and the civil struggle between the Pathet Lao and Royal Lao forces have contributed to a huge amount of large bombs, artillery shells, mortars, rockets, grenades and landmines that still lie unexploded in this country's soil. Government agency UXO Lao and 4 international organizations, including the UK-based Mines Advisory Group, are working to clear the land of unexploded ordnance. MAG has cleared 20 million square meters and destroyed 115,000 items over the past 8 years.
If it is in a village and the item is safe to move, we'll move it. If it's in an open area such as this, why is there a need to move it? We can destroy it there and then, rather than putting any added risk into any situation. 98% of MAG staff are locals. More than a quarter of them are women, including this all-woman team.
เก็บกู้ให้พ่อแม่ประชาชนเพิ่นก็ดีใจเพิ่นมีความรู้สึกดีใจที่ให้ลูกมาช่วยเหลือทำลายระเบิดหรือว่ากวาดกู้ระเบิดออกจากประเทศลาวช่วยเหลือพ่อแม่ประชาชน
Over the past 2 decades, the people of Laos have taken full charge of managing the UXO problem. They've honed their skills at clearing bombs, rehabilitating victims, and manufacturing prosthetic limbs. This non-profit group called COPE helps UXO survivors get back on their feet, literally.
Before the project started, local people, when they have amputees or accident, and they try to, survive or moving around, they made their homemade prosthetic, made from bamboo or wood. When they come to our center and they receive a new prosthetic that we provide, and then they also donate their own prosthetic legs.
The threat of UXO has had a profound economic impact in a country where most people are subsistence farmers and nearly a quarter live in poverty.
It makes a huge difference whether you can work on a land that is safe, as we would know in other places, or whether you have to work on a piece of land as a farmer and know that if you have too heavy equipment, you put yourself at risk. You put yourself at risk anyways, but then you put it even more if you use equipment that would help your farming to be more productive, your agriculture to be more performing.
In this country, there are 96 districts. Consider that 47 districts are poor, in which 41 districts suffer from UXO contamination. Obviously, we see that UXO is a high correlation to the poverty of the people in this country.
The ever-present danger of UXO also hampers the development of roads and tourism.
This area is known as the Plain of Jars, comprising dozens of megalithic archaeological sites dating back at least 2,000 years. It was also one of the most heavily bombed areas of Laos. The first of these sites was cleared of unexploded ordnance about a decade ago, making them safe for tourists to visit, but many other sites remain heavily contaminated.
Despite the United States' lead role in Laos's half-century of suffering, people here welcomed President Barack Obama's visit in September 2016 and his promise to do more to finally rid the country of UXO. Although they've developed wide-ranging expertise, the Lao government and local NGOs say they still need international funding to assist victims and find and clear the bombs.
To put the new American funding into perspective, the US has pledged $90 million for UXO surveying and clearance over 3 years, having spent $100 million over the previous 2 decades.
Today, Laos is leading the fight to ban the production and use of cluster bombs.
When I was a teenage, I lost my older brother because of the cluster. I know how hard is it, So that's why I asked the country that produce and use, please stop it. Please stop it and please destroy it. Don't use anymore. No need want this, horrible weapons in this world.
And we also have been kind of
While some survivors like Tumi have forged ahead with their lives, others are just starting to put the pieces back together.
หลังจากไร้ค่าแล้วก็จะพยายามช่วยเวียกครอบครัวสิ่งอันใดที่เฮ็ดได้ก็สิเฮ็ดที่ต้นก็ปลูกผักปลูกหญ้าเลี้ยงเป็ดเลี้ยงไก่ช่วยครอบครัวทำมาหากินให้มีความสะดวกเพื่อพึ่งพาอาศัยตัวเองว่าตัวเองเป็นแบบนี้ต้องได้เฮ็ดกินแต่ตัวเองบ่เฮ็ดก็บ่มีใครเฮ็ด
Laos still has millions of cluster munitions and other unexploded perils in its soil. And with or without US funding, it's likely to take decades before people here can plant their gardens, plow their fields, or let their children play, free from fear. For Assignment Asia, I'm Ryan Meltzer in Xiangkwang, Laos.